And good morning. I'm Pastor Calvin Lindstrom, and welcome to Christian Liberty Homeschools. I want to speak briefly on the theme of judgment and acceptance. Jesus Christ on the cross. As you study the Gospels, it is fascinating to see how the crucifixion is described, not as we would tend to describe it. One of the reasons why I don't recommend movies that focus on the physical aspects of what happened to Christ is that they miss what is most important and focus on what is less important. There is no denying the shame, the pain of crucifixion, but the theology is what stands out. In Matthew 27, 45 through 54, we have a new aspect of the account in the crucifixion. In verses 45 through 50, it is the picture of judgment. And then in verses 51 through 54, it is the acceptance of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. Let us consider aspects of judgment first in these verses 45 through 50. The first is of darkness. From the 6th hour until the 9th hour, there is darkness. And there are a number of Old Testament passages which are connected here. Amos 8, 9, and 10. Also Zephaniah 1:15. And we can say, this is a picture of judgment because Jesus is clearly the focus. And we do have an aspect of the pain and the suffering that our Lord endured. The second aspect of judgment then is the cry of our Lord, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, an Aramaic quotation of Psalm 22 and verse 1. And we notice it is with a loud voice. When Jesus dies, verse 50, it is also with a loud voice. Clearly, Jesus is the Messiah. He is the suffering Messiah. And the words that we have here in Matthew are so profound. I think in this cry we understand that Jesus was tasting the fullness of the cup that he had to drink. In this cry, we understand that Jesus was made sin for us, and that he experienced the fullness of God's wrath and justice, which his people deserve to bear. But our Lord has taken this cup. He has fully drank it. The third aspect of judgment then is the mockery that Jesus endured. Now, part of Jewish tradition was if you were in trouble, you could call for Elijah, and Elijah would come and bring help. In Luke 23:36, we see that they brought the sour wine as an aspect of mocking our Lord. Fourth, we see Jesus then with a loud voice crying and then yielding up his spirit. In the other Gospels, we have perhaps the language that Jesus did declare right before death. Matthew just focuses that Jesus with a loud voice cries out and then he yielded up his spirit. We think of Adam and Eve back in the garden, taking from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. How fitting that our Lord would die on a cross, on a tree, as it were. He may have been nailed directly to a physical tree. That is a possibility, but the cross does represent a tree. The place of sin also becomes the place where our Lord is judged. He is the sacrifice. Well, as Matthew continues in verses 51 through 54, we have the acceptance then of the sacrifice of our Lord. The acceptance of the sacrifice. And in that, there are 5 signs that deal with the acceptance that our Lord faced. Those 5 signs are first, the veil tearing in two, a massive earthquake following the death of our Lord, the opening of graves, some being resurrected, and then also the testimony that this was the Son of God. So the veil is ripped from top to bottom. The earth, the massive earthquake, the splitting of rocks, the opening of graves, only Matthew speaks of some of these details. They are amazing. It is a witness to the resurrection of our Lord. And then we have the testimony of the centurion. Is the centurion brought to saving faith? That's a fascinating question. I don't know if we can fully answer that. What is significant is he brings the testimony to the truth. No doubt this centurion had witnessed many crucifixions. This was not his first rodeo, we might say. There was something that spoke out so powerfully. And notice, he is not just saying, oh, that God is doing something, but this was the Son of God. That place of confession. This, the Son of God, has been crucified. This is the beautiful focus in Matthew's gospel. The judgment poured out on our Lord, the acceptance of his beautiful sacrifice.